Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time to take a look at another Generation 1 Transformer toy. And this time we're going to take a look at a Dinobot. This is the Dinobot Bombardier Swoop. Swoop, like his Dinobot buddies, was released in 1985. He would actually come out in the latter portions of 1985. He would also be available in 1986. He would be discontinued in 1987, and we would not get a replacement for him. Swoop is, of course, the only flying Dinobot in the group, so you automatically know which one he becomes easily. And he is one of the more popular of the Dinobots on the collector's market due to his ability to fly. He ranks second in popularity and rarity, right behind everybody's favorite Dinobot, their leader Grimlock. Now, Swoop, like the other Dinobots, was based off of an existing toy line made by Takara in Japan. There were a series of piloted mecha. The interesting part about that is that Swoop here does not have an opening spot to insert one of the Diaclone mini-men that would have come with the other Dinobots. There is basically no spot available on him to carry an extra to carry a person. See, there's nothing on the back side. There's no room on the back side. And there's practically no room in his chest for it, as that's pretty thin. So, interesting little misnomer. It makes you wonder, was he piloted in whatever media this would have been produced for, or was he supposed to have basically been a remote-controlled drone? Hard to say, but very interesting fact about him. Anyway, let's take a look at Swoop and his articulation, and unfortunately he's pretty limited on what he can do. The arms move at the shoulders. You can have it pretty much just slightly back from being straight down, and he can bring his arm up about so far, because again, the wings do get in the way. As far as his legs go, he does have some flexibility here. Ah, there it goes. This one must be up a little too tight. But he can bend at the knee all the way like so, and you can bend him at the ankle like so. But those serve more for transforming him, so really doesn't give you a whole lot of options. But, at least if nothing else, he is pretty well balanced as a robot. Now, of course, let's transform Swoop, and of course, to do that, we need to remove all of his accessories from him. Which means both the guns and his sword. Alright, to transform him, first thing we got to do on his arms is push the gray portion up a bit, and then you slide it in at the shoulder into the side of his chest. It's not going to go in very far, but should go in a little further than that. Some of these loose swoops can be a bit on the finicky side to transform, predominantly due to play wear. Okay, there we go. And we're going to take the head of the dinosaur, fold it up onto the robot face, and then push it straight up like so that we can close the chest up like so. And of course, we're going to reach behind him here. We'll turn him around so you can see it. We're going to take the wings and spread them out to their full glory. Kind of keep his head back. It loves to fall and get in the way. And then down here on his legs, first off, we fold down his feet at the ankles. Here, grab the gray portion, pull them out a bit, like so, and then you will fold them up and over and secure them onto his back. Do that real quick for the other one. And then here you have his alternate mode as a pteranodon or a pterodactyl. There's been much debate amongst the fandom as to which one he is. Of course, in this mode, he has a little more articulation. You know, the head can be straight up like this, or you can bend it down about 90 degrees. And you can also bend out his feet like so. And this brings out some landing gear, because hidden inside his chest cavity here, we open it back up again. For those that wish to deploy landings like this, he does have a landing gear stalk underneath, so you can land him on the ground like an airplane. Kind of silly there. Me, myself, I kind of prefer the natural look of landing on his feet, sort of like they do in the Jurassic Park movies. And you may not have noticed it as well, but on the head, the beak does open and close. More often stays open a little bit, and that's again due to play wear. But it is kind of nice. Make it look like he's talking in the process. I really love the intricate detail on his wings here. And of course, they're in chrome. It's very, very nice. As you can imagine, the ends of the wings tend to suffer from wear the most. On the top here, it's gotten a little dull on some areas, again, due to play wear. But all in all, he is pretty impressive looking in this mode. Let's take a moment now and take a look at Swoop's loose parts. We're going to start by taking a look at his missile launchers. He has two of these, and they're exactly the same. And again, like many of the launchers for the Transformer toys back in the day, these have been neutered, so they will only hold the missiles. They will not fire them at all. They also don't, sometimes they don't hold them very good. As you probably saw with my example, one of the launchers really doesn't hold the missile in very well, which is a shame, but it is what it is. And of course, he has three of these red rockets, or missiles. And these are in plastic. And it's very flimsy plastic. As you can see, bends pretty easily. So it's pretty soft plastic. You won't have to worry about it breaking too easily. Just a major departure, since all of the other Dinobots featured chrome missiles, and somehow Swoop seems to be lacking when you look at these missiles by comparison. And then next we have his sword, which the instructions describe as a thermal sword. So I'm guessing it probably generates some heat so it can cut through metal. It's a rather interesting design, and like the other Dinobot swords, it's in red plastic, which is strange, especially since on the original Takara toys, their swords were chromed. So, yeah, this is probably just a cost-cutting measure, but it works just as well. Kind of gives the impression that the sword might actually be a lightsaber from Star Wars. Would that mean then that the Dinobots have gone to the dark side? Alright, now let's take a look at Swoop's instructions. You can see here the picture of him just basically has him only holding one of his guns. Would have been nice if he was also holding the sword at least, or the other gun. And like arrow on here, they list the alternate mode simply as dinosaur. See how to transform him. From dinosaur to robot. And then they show here at the end how to put out the landing gear, as they list here on the text, for special landings. I guess that hints more at him being a drone or a piloted mecha from the original toy line. And here, of course, we have how to put the stickers on. And lastly, the same stuff from the 1985 instructions onwards. How to use the rub sign, collect your robot points, and how to read your tech specs. And speaking of which, whoops, we forgot the decoder. Hold on a second. Let's try this again now and go over the tech spec. It's done in red to signify he's an Autobot. It has a nice picture of him that would have matched the picture on the front of the box. Even though it's red to show him as an Autobot, it lists above him as Dinobot. It gives his name as Swoop, and his function is listed as Dinobot Bombardier. Now, bombardiers are crewmen aboard large bomber craft that are basically the ones that help in the direction of bombing runs. They calculate the trajectories and determine the points where to release, especially in the earlier planes of World War II, the trajectories and approximate placement of where to deploy the bombs so that they will fall and land on their targets. Nowadays, since we use predominantly guided missiles, it seems like this function is probably a bit obsolete. I'm not sure, but it kind of comes off that way. Anyway, Swoop's motto is, "Fear can hit targets unreachable to bullets." Enjoys watching enemies scatter before him as he dives down from sky. Considers spreading fear his greatest weapon. So that's an interesting bit from him. He seems to be a master over fear. Since Robert Englund voiced the Scarecrow in the Injustice games, how about if we put Swoop in another movie, we get the same person to do that? This Dinobot's kind, good-natured side disguised by his horrifying form. Even his comrades shy away. Flies at 250 miles per hour. Air-to-air missile launcher under each wing fires missiles equivalent of 5,000 pounds TNT, 8-mile range. as Robot uses launchers and 4,000 degrees centigrade thermal sword. Fragile wings vulnerable to enemy firepower. Now, the thing here about his missiles seems to contradict his function, as a bombardier usually deploys bombs that are going to fall from the plane down to the surface. But his missiles are air-to-air missiles, which means they stay airborne. So that comes off a bit contradictory. At any rate, let's put the decoder over the graph and take a look at his stats. It gives his strength as 6, his intelligence is also 6, his speed is 8, his endurance is 9, his rank is 5, his courage and firepower and skill are all 6. So he's more or less got it in speed and toughness, but everything else is just slightly above average. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Swoop? I've always been a big fan of Swoop. I was disappointed growing up that I never got this toy as a child, so this is one I bought as an adult collector, and one of them I made a true point of going out and finding. Since, after all, Swoop was the wild one of the bunch. He was the one that was the most calm and collected of the Dinobots, and he did seem to have more brains than a lot of them when depicted in the cartoon. Which, of course, is natural when he and Snarl were brought into the group. Wheeljack had purposefully made the two of them smarter in the hopes that they would be easier to control. And it's reflected more in their tech specs and in the lore than how they were presented in the cartoon. But as such, Swoop often acts as the liaison between the Dinobots and the rest of the Autobots, as he is able to get along better with the other Autobots, despite the fact that his alternate form also seems to creep them out, but flying lizards tend to do that to a lot of us. I mean, after all, look at how terrifying things went in Jurassic World when the flying dinosaurs got loose and started dive-bombing the crowd. Despite the fact that, in reality, the larger flying ones there could not pick up humans. Read any scientific article that came out after the movie regarding that, and they'll tell you they could not do that. So, Hollywood, do a better job with that. But at any rate, the toy, it's not bad. It's a shame that for whatever reason, the cartoon didn't copy the color schemes of the toy, or that the toy wasn't repainted to match it. Because I think the color scheme on the cartoon was a little bit better than this, but he does match the other Dinobot toys to a degree, so I guess we can let that slide a bit. The articulation on him kind of sucks in reality, but it is what it is. We really can't complain about it too much. I don't really think there's much that can be done to have improved the articulation on him, since, let's face it, a lot of it on the arms, his wings get in the way, and if you make it so the wings move any further, well, that would give us better wing articulation, but it probably would also make the toy a little more fragile in my eyes. His accessories are pretty good. They work well for both of his modes, well, except for his sword, of course, in the dinosaur mode, but that's beside the point. So all in all, I do like Swoop. He does perform a vital function for the Autobots by being a bombardier, even though his missiles are air-to-air, so he's more in line for shooting down Decepticon jets and other flying Decepticons over performing bombing runs. Of course, in 1985, we got Power Glide. So Power Glide can do the bombing runs, and Swoop here handles the air-to-air combat. All in all, I'm going to put Swoop into the top tier. He's certainly one of them that, despite appearances and such, he definitely earns the slot in being in the top tier. He's not the smartest or the strongest of the Autobots or even of the Dinobots, but he does perform a vital function, and his accessories do reflect that usefulness. And of course, in our own imaginations, Swoop can do just about anything that he puts his mind to. So, top tier figure, folks. And that concludes my review of the Dinobot Bombardier Swoop. If you liked the review, please leave a thumbs up here on YouTube. Don't forget as well, hit that subscribe button down below and join up within our ranks. Please also consider sharing your thoughts about Swoop in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.